Women of Reddit, what is your worst nice guy experience? One of them grabbed me by the neck and choked me against a wall for not wanting to kiss him. Another one stalked me for months because I wouldn't duck him. Another one bought me a drink, tried to force himself on me, then followed me home and actually tried to get in because I owed him. Those are the ones I can remember right now. Another one waited until I passed out at a party and tried to abuse me because he was afraid I would say no. I own a small vintage clothing store. I have a regular cross-dressing old man who comes in looking like Linda Richman and smelling like grandma if grandma was a whore. Well, he was very sweet at first but then started coming in and saying semi-perverted things. Then one day he came in and we were having a casual conversation and he interrupted me with this. Standing here talking to you and looking at you is making me hard. It feels like I might come in my skirt any second. Nice. Met a guy in high school who was really nice. We would talk and hang out at lunch. One day, he called my house at 2 AM repeatedly until I answered and told him it's too late to talk. After about the third time he called again and my sister, my guardian at the time, answered and told him to stop calling. He called her a bitch and he stopped calling. The next day at school I avoided him and he followed me around. I made sure to be around someone at all times and he would harass another guy and say, "Why are you trying to steal my girl?" Then when I was sitting at my desk he sat on the ground by my feet and kept trying to slide his hands up under my clothes. After about a week of this he finally left me alone. When I read and didn't respond to his message, he texted me whore and duck you, I'm a nice guy. The irony. A guy friend in junior high. We had several classes and sat next to each other. Platonic. Loyal friends for 2 years before he got weird. He was hilarious. We could talk about anything. His house had a pool, so during warm weather a bunch of us would swim at his house after school. One day he invites me over to swim after school. When I get there, no one else is there, which was weird. He was splashing me, sort of aggressively flirting, dunking me. So I get out of the pool and he pins me down to kiss me. So I play it off as joking and leave. I give him the cold shoulder after that and he was pissed. 2 weeks later and at a different friend's house he and I are both there for a swim birthday party and he and another guy give me a simultaneous front and back seesaw, which is like a horball double wedgie in the pool. My swimsuit cut me so badly I bled. I hate you, Pat. Became friends with this guy in college. After graduation he got a job and moved in with his girlfriend about an hour's drive from where I was in grad school. I drove out one Saturday to see him. Did some cool things. Grabbed some food. He waited until his girlfriend was in the bathroom before he told me the following. My boyfriend probably had a low sperm count due to his profession, and if I ever wanted a family, he'd always be willing to take me back even though we'd never been together. Yeah. Haven't seen him since. Edit. For those who are having a hard time parsing this, nice guy says my boyfriend probably has low sperm count. Offers to start family with me. Also thanks for gold. Luckily I haven't been had to deal with anything too terrible, but there was this guy last year that got on the westbound bus a little after I did, and then we got off at the same stop and waited together for the northbound bus. He was nice. He was friendly. He took an interest in the classes I was taking. I kinda viewed him as this kind of grandfatherly type of man. Since he was in his 60s or 70s, I'm in my late 20s. For reference, one night, I had to go to the store that's right by that bus stop we waited together at. I got stuck behind someone who took a while in line, so I was rushing to make the bus, because even though it's a time point where they're supposed to stop and wait if they're ahead of schedule, some of the drivers don't. I'm running up, and the driver did actually wait like he was supposed to. He was taking a smoke break out by the stop, and said, "Don't worry, the old guy let me know you were coming." Awesome. Super nice. Right? I go in. Old guy says pretty much the same thing. He let the driver know I'd be out shortly, and the driver decided to take a smoke break while they waited. Then the old guy passed me a note. Told me to read it when I got home. It said, "Does that deserve a kiss someday?" I know that's not the worst thing in the world, but I started taking a later bus. It meant I didn't get home until about 9, but I didn't have to deal with him anymore. I've had some bad experiences with nice guys, including 2 harassing me to the point I dropped out of schools for the semester. But the most recent one was such an oh my heck really that it's almost funny. Almost. The very first date we went on was a double. Don't trust guys much anymore. Sorry, with my obviously gay best friend who is seriously like my twin brother. Naturally, when everyone was leaving I hugged him. My date put his arms around me and started barking like a dog. Like, straight up ROWF mine. I sat there in shock for a few seconds trying to process what had just happened. But my best friend looked the guy dead in the eye and said she is not a tree. You did not pee on her. Never do that again. Bark Boy took offense to that. He still hates my best friend, but wasn't dumb enough to mess with him. So that's something. Instead he complained loudly about the guy every time I saw him because I was stuck at the same small college as him for a year and he was determined not to give up after that. It's a long story, but after almost 2 years of him not giving up that easily, I finally had to threaten to tell his mom he was harassing me. I wish I was joking. It worked, though. He believed all governments were evil. Feminism was the work of the devil and unfair to men. Gay men are handy eunuchs to protect his harem. And the world will end but he'll survive with his friends and his katanas. He is afraid of no man or authority, but terrified of his mom. TL. Dr. Dog Boy tried to make me his fire hydrant. That one time he tried running me over with a truck when I was on holiday. I have a reproductive issue. It won't kill me but for the most part, I can't have kids. I had confided in a male friend of mine about some of the sadness I was having over it, coupled with a bad breakup I had just gone through, and he tried to cheer me up by saying but you're perfect. I was confused so I asked him to elaborate. You're hot, you look like Black Widow, you're funny, and you can't ever get pregnant. What guy wouldn't want you? When I told him that wasn't a compliment, he told me that I'm too much of a social justice warrior to see when a real gentleman pays me a compliment. This thread makes me sad. There are tons of genuinely nice guys who don't just want to have a sex with you so they're pretending. I imagine it's kinda like a God quote. Any man who must say I am the king is no true king at all. It's kinda like that with nice guys. Met on a dating site between relationships. Described himself as nice and respectful. What a woman wants is important. We met at a seafood restaurant and he was really nice and respectful. He tried to pull my chair out but I done it myself. I jokingly offered to pull his chair out. We'd had a nice dinner, but didn't really click. He seemed perfectly fine. After the scallops we talked about life goals and then wrapped the dinner up. He asked me when he could see me again and I said I had a great time Brian but 2000. But I am not sure a second date will work out. Good luck dating. And put my half of the dinner tab down. He's been honest and so had I that we'd had a couple of other people on deck and were just testing the waters. Brian but 2000 rebooted. Nice guy eggs crashed. He flipped his chair over bolting up and started yelling about how I was a slut and wasted his time and if I wasn't going to put out then I could have at least paid for my meal. As my money and a tip were already on the table, I walked away and stopped doing dating sites. Another nice guy held me hostage in my bathroom at knife point because I broke up with him. But Brian Bud 2000 was by far the worst. Edit. For clarity, it was the force with which he stood that causes his chair to flip backwards. I didn't mean to imply he'd gone all WWF eggs. So my best nice guy experience was a guy I actually did try to date. We went out once. He didn't have a lot going on. No job. No college. Pending assault charges in another state for a 17-year-old girl, which he let me know on the first date. I decided that maybe now wasn't the best time for him to be dating but he was funny and nice so I said let's stay friends. He agreed at first but then he started calling and texting me constantly. Whenever I didn't want to hang out with him it was because I was too busy being a slut and catching chlamydia. As soon as I would respond he would apologize and be nice, for like 5 seconds. This continued. Got worse. And I eventually just blocked his number. He of course just started calling and texting off random phone numbers. One night when I had ignored him all day he left me a voicemail telling me what I was wearing that day and then going into detail about how he wanted to kill me and assault and also end my young child's life. I had to change my number and file a police report to get him to leave me alone. That's what I get for trying to find love on a Cupid. I was 16 and quite lonely, so I posted something on Tumblr so people would message me. I added a 26YO guy from NY. I am from Switzerland, so time zones are different. In my mind it was clear and it seemed obvious that I didn't want anything romantic as we had 10 years of difference, and I told him that I only wanted a friend. Well, after messaging for a while he told me he had to go to sleep and made me promise to continue to talk to him once he woke up. Weird, but whatever, I thought. Few hours later he messaged me and talked about how he wanted me to be his girlfriend and so on. I told him again that I was only looking for a friend. He lost it. He began insulting me, telling me I'll lead him on, even though I told him I was only looking for a friend when we first talked. I ended up having to block him because I couldn't get him to calm down or to understand that I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I never made another post to meet new people online after that. I haven't had many, but I had a recent one. Met a guy at work briefly. Later see that he friended me on Facebook and asks me out. I said I wasn't looking for a relationship, especially with all my work troubles. He says he's fine with friendship and says he understands me so much. Over the next few weeks he sends me messages about cats or the weather, stuff like that. Usually about 4 in a row, all about an hour apart. I don't really respond much. Then the other day I wake up to a text that says, "Hey," so I write, "Hey, what's up?" I didn't see that the first text was from the previous night. The next text I get back says something like, "Well, I was going to invite you to a party last night, but I see you were hanging out with other people. It's too bad. I guess I'll just delete your number. I could have loved you forever." I text back basically saying, "What the hell is it all about?" He then says that he couldn't stand that I was with someone else and could I please understand. I thought the messages were mean because I met him once, never hung out with him, had good reasons for not starting anything, and yet he tries to make me feel bad when I'm already not doing well. Usually, when a guy says, "I'm a nice guy," that's code for I'm not a nice guy. A friend of mine thought he was a nice guy. He was pretty smitten with a girl he'd met on the school bus. Over the course of the school year, my friend would lick his lips violently and bang on the table whenever he saw her from a distance. Tell everyone around when she would wear yoga pants in the most obvious way possible, loudly saying "Vitalbum hole. Look at her ass." Routinely thrust his hips towards her whenever he stood behind her. Get visibly aroused when she sat next to him on the bus. Constantly go into her class 4-hour photo class and take pictures of her cleavage ass on the teacher's camera and not even bother to wipe the SD card. Tried to get upskirt creep shots and got caught by the teacher. Constantly tell us how he would masturbate thinking about her. He stole someone else's photo of her, made several copies of it in the dark room, and showed people one of the pictures encrusted in his cum, including a friend of the girl. Called her a bitch behind her back when she wore jeans because he couldn't get a good look at her assets. Asked her to prom, and when she obviously said no, proceeded to act like a victim of the friend zone and complain that she didn't like nice guys. Class act that fellow is. Other itty things he does often. Makes fun of mentally challenged people. Laughs at people in wheelchairs to their faces. Calls babies in the womb parasites that should be exterminated. Apes. I used to be an isekai. The thing is, I have mental issues, depression, anxiety, paranoia. Never try to deal with someone who says they're a nice guy. I'm no longer one. But that's after years of therapy and being on meds for just as long. Funaseguai says he's reformed. Always be cautious. Looking at the girls I creeped out back then, and how I creeped them out. If I were them, I would not trust me, judging from those experiences alone. Even if I can say now that I'm a different and better man, I will never expect anyone who I've creeped out to believe me, and they are justified. Anyone who's had to deal with a creepy isekai, cut him off immediately. It's not worth the stress or discomfort he will bring you. Not sure it totally fits the bill, but my female friend and I, made friends with our older male teaching assistant and hung out sometimes. He had a girlfriend, we found out from someone else, but he never mentioned her. Anyways, it seemed like he was more interested in hanging out with me than my friend. But I didn't think anything of it. He was never inappropriate or anything. Then one day my friend hears that him and his GF broke up. He calls me that night and asks to meet at a bar. My spidey sense is tingling, but I go. I have zero romantic interest in this guy. He basically professes his love to me. I've always been into you. I don't even like your friend. I just put up with her to get to you etc. I am not impressed. I vaguely knew his GF and she is lovely. I feel awful that he has been secretly lusting after me. I don't want to be rude though. I was very young. So I say I'd rather be friends and that I am not looking for a relationship. Giving me an out. He replies excitedly that that's okay. We can just hook up. I remain polite and repeat the just friends line. Then get out of there and never contact him again. Whole thing left me feeling icky. And my friend felt very betrayed. He never contacted her again afterwards since she was no use to him anymore. A guy once PM'd me, "Hey girl, you're so beautiful. You look like you know how to suck a good cock." So I asked him how he'd feel if someone spoke to his sister like that. He immediately blew up and told me he'd kill me for talking about his family like that. Makes sense.